Have you ever reached a point where you quietly asked yourself, who's really first in my life? Not in church talk, not in public posts, but in those quiet mornings, in the late night decisions, in the thoughts nobody sees, in the choices no one claps for. We say, God comes first, with our mouths, but our lives. They often tell another story, because what's truly first in your life will shape everything else. Number 1, the noise that drowns God out. Let's face it, the world is loud. Work demands your time. Family pulls at your heart. Your phone buzzes with 100 notifications, urgent but rarely important. And somewhere in that chaos, God slowly slips to the background. He becomes a Sunday appointment, not a daily presence. But here's the truth. Your soul already knows. Life only works when God is first. Not just important, not just included. First. First in your time. First in your thoughts. First in your finances. First in your decisions. When God is in his rightful place, everything else begins to settle. Peace enters. Clarity sharpens. Priorities fall into line. And even when storms come, your heart stands. Not because life is perfect, but because your foundation is. This message isn't about guilt. It's an invitation, a call to return to your first love, to take the throne away from things that were never meant to sit there in the first place. Number 2, the first commandment is still first. Think about this. When God gave the 10 commandments to Moses, he didn't start with murder, adultery, or lying. The very first thing he said, "You shall have no other gods before me." Exodus 23. That wasn't a polite suggestion. It was a divine priority. And no, we don't bow to golden calves today, but we still build idols, just shinier ones. Success, relationships, influence, even ministry. The real test, whatever you trust more, love more, or rely on more than God, that's your idol. And idols don't always look evil. They often look like dreams, family, even yourself. But Jesus never called us to comfort. He called us to carry a cross. Luke 14:26 says we must love him more than father, mother, even our own life. That's not extreme. That's what wholehearted surrender looks like. Number 3, seeking the kingdom first. Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." Matthew 6:33. But let's be honest, most of us wake up already behind. Emails, appointments, bills. We try to squeeze in a quick prayer before bed, or read one verse and call it good. But Jesus didn't say, "Fit me into your schedule." He said, "Build your life around me." It's not legalism, it's love. It's saying, before I check the news, before I scroll my feed, God, I want you first. Think of Daniel. When it became illegal to pray, he didn't panic. He went home, opened his window toward Jerusalem, and prayed like he always had. And God shut the mouths of lions in return. When you put the kingdom first, God moves in ways you never could have imagined. He provides. He protects. He positions you because he's in charge of the outcome. Number 4, trusting God over your own plan. Putting God first means letting go of control. And that's not easy, because we like knowing what's next. We want the whole map before we take the first step. But Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and He will make your paths straight. God doesn't ask for partial trust. He asks for surrender. Abraham left his home not knowing where he was going. Joseph trusted God in a prison cell long before the palace. Jesus sweat drops of blood, yet still whispered, "Not my will, but yours be done." That's trust. Trust shifts your posture. It turns fear into faith. It turns anxiety into rest. Not because your life gets easier, but because you know who's leading. Number 5, choosing God in every decision. Big or small, every choice matters, and every decision is a chance to put God first. James 1:5 says, "If anyone lacks wisdom, let them ask God, who gives generously without finding fault." God's not just interested in the big milestones. He wants to guide your every step. Before the text is sent, before the deal is signed, before the answer is yes or no, invite Him in. Not afterward, before. Jesus, even being the Son of God, often withdrew to pray before choosing His disciples, before miracles, before the cross. So why do we think we can make decisions without that same connection? Let the question rise. Is this God's best or just my idea? Number 6, sacrifice, the true test of who comes first. Love without sacrifice isn't real love. Devotion without cost isn't devotion. If you want to know what comes first in your life, ask, what am I afraid to lose? Because what you cling to the most is often what's sitting where God should be. Abraham was willing to give up Isaac, not because he didn't love his son, but because he trusted the giver more than the gift. And God provided. Jesus didn't just say, "Put God first." He lived it. He died for it. In the garden, facing unspeakable suffering, He still said, "Not my will, but yours." God might not ask you to lay everything down, but He will ask for something: your comfort, your pride, your habits, your control. And every time you surrender, heaven meets you in that place. Number 7, the fruit of putting God first. So what happens when you actually do it? When you truly put God first, you begin to live in peace that makes no sense. You walk with strength you didn't know you had. You find purpose that no platform or paycheck could ever provide. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." Putting God first doesn't guarantee a trial-free life, but it guarantees you won't walk through it alone. And that changes everything. You stop living for approval and start living from identity. You stop chasing more and start resting in enough. Number 8, when you fail to put God first, grace still finds you. Let's be real. We won't always get it right. We drift, we get distracted, we prioritize comfort over calling. But God's grace, it doesn't walk away. It doesn't shame you. It runs toward you. Think of Peter. He denied Jesus 3 times. And yet, Jesus returned after the resurrection, not to condemn, but to restore. He made breakfast. He asked one question: "Do you love me?" And with every yes, Peter's calling was reborn. So maybe you've drifted. Maybe God hasn't been first in a long time, but grace is still calling you back right now, not to punishment, but to a new beginning. Final word, a lifestyle, not a checklist. Putting God first isn't a box to check. It's a heart posture. It's waking up each day and saying, "God, before anything else, it's you." It's choosing surrender over striving, faith over fear, purpose over pressure. So today, don't just hear this, live it. Because when you put God first, everything else begins to fall into place, not perfectly, but divinely. And that's more than enough.